47-16 record, winning the Palo Alto Regional and Super Regional. This is Dave's 5th year at Stanford and his 29th. Wow. Overall. Yeah. Dave, please start. Give us an overview.
Well, if you're in Omaha in June, it's a good thing, and it has not been a straight line for us. I'm really proud of this team for just the perseverance they've had to have in order to get here, and I think many of the teams that are here would say the same thing. It doesn't happen easily, especially coming out of, one, our league, and two, the regional and super regional, which were just real battles and wars that we made it through, and couldn't be prouder. We've earned our trip here. We don't take anything for granted. It's not easy to get here. Even though we had a number of players who had experienced last year's World Series, it was never a certainty that we could necessarily get back here. So it took a team effort and an unbelievable year by Alex Williams, who was the Pac-12 Pitcher of the Year, that we needed every one of his innings and performances, and Brock Jones, who's been on our team and in the lineup for the last couple of years and has led us. And Brock's last 2 months have been just as good as any player in our conference or in the country, and that has really led us. But hasn't just been him. It's been a number of players that kind of have just, at one time or another, have been the most valuable player on our team. And I talk about that all the time, that the greatness of our team is we're going to rely on a different hero every night, and we're not just going to be one person centered. So it doesn't have to be Brock that carries us or Alex. It's going to be each and every one of us, and I think we've done that, and it's a big reason we're here.
Okay, let's open it up for questions for the student athletes, and we'll start here with you, Matt.
Matt Jones,
hold on, wait for now.
Out of practice here. Matt Jones, Arkansas Democrat Gazette. Brock, obviously you guys played Arkansas earlier this year. What are your thoughts on seeing them again, and your memories from seeing them down in Texas earlier?
Yeah, I think it's always good to play a team like Arkansas. It gives us kind of that Texas Tech kind of vibe like we had in our Super last year, where they're just going to show up and they're going to play competitive baseball. And you never really know. You never really know what you're going to get, and that's one of those things where you got to love. You got to love showing up to the ballpark to play a team like Arkansas. And I think earlier in the year we played a really good game. It was a dogfight, and we ended up coming out on top. And we were all there, right there on the rail. One of our guys, Drew Bowser, gets hit in the face. We kind of get confrontational a little bit. So we're all up there on the rail, and I think you could show up on Saturday ready for another dogfight.
Okay. Tom
Murphy, also Arkansas Democrat Gazette. Brock and Alex, you won 5 elimination games the last couple of weeks. What mentality maybe does that kind of breed in your team? What was it like, and how has that maybe toughened you guys heading into this?
Want me to start? Yeah, I think it's always good. We went on that run of 18, 19, 20 wins, whatever it was, and I think we were kind of due for a loss at some point, and I'm glad that we got those out of the way earlier than later. And I think it's always good to experience everything before you get to Omaha, because you get comfortable. You get too comfortable and you can be out of luck. So I think it was one of those things where we kind of got hit in the mouth a little bit, and we were able to kind of take a step back and be like, okay, we need to show up and get back to work and get ready to go. And, I think if you experience those things in Omaha, you'll be ready when you get here. And, I think we've pretty much touched on every possible game scenario that we can at this point. We've been up a lot, been down a lot, dogfights in between. And, we've always kind of been proud of this group, and we're always, looking forward to the next game.
Yeah, I would say, winning those elimination games is big. It just kind of showed to me, like, how deep we are. I think one thing that we've just been, as we're kind of winning and playing well, you kind of rely on the same guys over and over. And then those elimination games, we saw a lot of guys step up that haven't really all year. And I feel like in the last 2 weeks, I realized how good of a team we actually are compared to the entire season. I've seen a lot of guys step up and do big performances, whether that's Ryan Bruno or Eddie Park or a lot of younger guys that I just see step up in the big moment. It just kind of shows how much of a team we are and how much we rely on each other.
Coach, can I assume with Alex being in here that he's going to start your opener?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
What you know of the Arkansas lineup, having seen them, just can you talk through what you know of them?
Yeah, they're a good team. I was on the book and I was doing the charting for Quinn Matthews when he pitched against him back in Texas. What was that, second week of the year? I know they're going to be a good team. I know they're going to be a good offense, and I look forward to facing them. I think it's going to be a good game, and I take our offense over theirs any day. I think we got them, but I don't know. I'll respect them. But hey, they're a good team. I look forward to playing them.
Question back over here.
Mark Garland, CWS 247. Brock, you were struggling a little bit early in the season. You were in a little bit of a funk, and it seemed like the whole offense was kind of down a little bit early. Through that Corvallis series, going up there and beating Oregon State, what do you think turned your guys' season at that point, you personally and the rest of your teammates at that point?
I think what helped us is we never really hit the panic button, myself included. It was one of those things where we always knew that we were good. We had a lot of talent. We just kind of had to get back to us and play our brand of baseball. We were kind of trying to do too much and put too much pressure on ourselves individually. And I think now that the season's gone on and we've experienced what we've experienced, we've also, like you said, we've come closer as a group, and we have a lot of faith in all of our guys. And SK always talks about having a safety net, and not just you don't have to be the guy every night, but you have that safety net of 8 guys beneath you in the lineup that'll pick you up if you don't succeed.
Travis.
Yeah, Travis Brown with the Bryan College Station Eagle. This is for both of y'all. I know a tweet went out of y'all getting to watch Jacob Palisch close out the Aggies Super Regional. What is the relationship like with him? What have you seen from him this year, and how special is it to be up here with him?
Brock, you start.
Yeah, I think it's an awesome picture and an awesome post. I was actually talking to Tyler. Some of us were like, should we have that posted? Because we're going to be competing against those guys. But looking back on it, Palisch is one of us. He's one of the guys that got us here last year, and he's been awesome all throughout for them. And we couldn't be more proud of him and everything that he's accomplished. And we're very happy that he's back, and hopefully we'll see him, in the CWS.
Yeah, kind of going off that. Palisch, I have a little bit tighter relationship with Palisch, probably just because we're pitchers. He's one class above me, so I've known him for a long time. And at the beginning of the season, when he chose to go to A&M, he sent me a text saying, "Hey, here's the deal, here's where I'm going." And then right before the season, he texted me and he was like, "Hey, good luck this year, rooting the best for you. I can't wait to see you in Omaha." And so then, right as I saw him closing that game, I texted him. I said, "Wow, awesome to see you being able to be the one to close it out, send your team to Omaha." So I think it's awesome that obviously what he said is kind of coming true, and I look forward and hope that we get the chance to play him.
Okay, we have a question from the Zoom universe.
All right, we're going to go to Steve. Steve, go ahead with your question after you name yourself and your affiliation.
Steve Cronin from the San Francisco Chronicle. Alex, I know how good you were for about a 2-month stretch, and to be fair, you have not been that good the past 3 starts. What gets you back to being the guy you were for those 2 months and not the guy you've been the past 3 starts?
Yeah, I think I just got to get back to the basics. I think when playoffs hit, I kind of put a little too much on myself. I tried a little too hard, and something that I like to say is trying harder is not the answer. It's just not. And I think just kind of being the older guy and coming to these playoffs, I put too much on myself and tried too hard. So I just got to get back to myself, know who I am, and know that, like Brock was saying, there's a safety net below me of a lot of guys that could pick me up if I don't. And so honestly, just seeing those guys and what the younger guys have done for me to continue to give me more opportunities to pitch, I couldn't be more thankful and more blessed. And so I'm not going to take that for granted and just go out and be me. And I'm excited to get back out there again.
Okay, here with Matt.
When Arkansas beat North Carolina earlier this week, there was a lot of talk about how meaningful it was for them to get here after what happened with NC State last year. You guys had a tough loss here to end your season last year. How much of a motivation was that for you?
Yeah, I think it's huge. You come back into the park and you immediately it's the first thought that hits your brain is how you lost last year and how you ended up leaving that all behind. So I think that's definitely a big motivation, and we have a lot of returning guys who were here last year. So I think it was pretty funny. We were walking in the park doing our walkthrough yesterday, and you're like, it's smaller than I remember. And that kind of just tells me we're right where we need to be, and we're not going to run from it. We're here to face everything, and we couldn't be more excited to be back.
Alex?
Yeah, I would just say there's definitely something about being here before. I think there was that thirst in our mouth from losing last year. It kind of never left. And I was just counting down the days of getting back to here. At the beginning of the season, I was like, I cannot wait to get back to Omaha and get revenge and get that chance again. So, we got 8 out of our 9 starters have played here before. I think we have a sense of maturity about us that, okay, we know what it's like. The game's not too big for us. And obviously we've been waiting for this moment, and now it's time to go out and play our brand of baseball.
There probably was a split second of PTSD when we walked back in, remembering last year, and then it was gone. This place is so special, and being here and getting an opportunity to face a great Arkansas team. Coach Van Horn, I respect like no other coach, and I know he'll be ready. Big difference is I think when we played them in February, it was 30 degrees maybe, and it wasn't the most comfortable brand of baseball. So playing out here in the heat, it'll be the same type of battle, but a lot warmer.
Okay, this will be our last question for the student athletes.
Alex, Quinn's been smoking as a reliever / closer. What have you seen for his mindset? What does he talk about, like, in the difference in his new role, I guess?
Yeah, I mean, Quinn he's an interesting, different guy. I think he wouldn't be offended by me saying that. Not at all. It's just one thing I appreciate about him is he's able to make an adjustment. I think even moving out of the starting role, he wasn't the biggest fan of at first, but he's definitely kind of grown and understood that that's what the team needed. And I mean, I think the second he went to the pen, we went on like a 17-game winning streak. So I don't think that's the only reason. But I mean, I couldn't be more proud of the way that he's handled that role and accepted it. And I mean, he's finding success there. And obviously, it's very nice as a starter to know that I've got Quinn behind me. So I'm easily able to hand that ball off to Quinn. And so I couldn't be more proud of what he's been doing recently.
Okay, athletes, thank you. Let you know that locker rooms will be closed to all media at all times, and you'll work with the team SID for any additional requests. And Oliver, raise your hand so they, huh? Tyler. Oh, Tyler, I'm sorry. What did I write down? Oh, that's wrong word, Tyler.
That's all right. Oliver's way better than I am.
Oliver will show up next, and then Tyler will be, whatever. So, guys, thank you.
Thank you.
And Dave will hold on, and we'll do questions once they clear out. Sorry, Tyler. Thank you, guys. Okay, questions for Coach Esker, and
I want
We'll
to
start back
clarify
there.
when Alex said that our offense is. He said he hopes our offense is better than Arkansas's offense.
okay, we'll start back here with Matt.
Mark Garland, CWS 247. Coach, do you think that the experience you guys had last year mixed with some of these young guys like Braden Montgomery is going to help you here in this series, being a big ballpark? You guys hit a lot of home runs. Do you guys think you guys can play enough small ball to go out there and win these games?
Well, you hope so, right? And that has been something that home run teams that come here, does that throw them off their game if they're not able to produce the power numbers that they're used to? And that'll be seen for sure, because I think that's something we've relied a little bit on our power. I'm pretty confident that we can play a little smaller if we need to. I'm usually morally opposed to bunting in the first 5 innings, but who knows now with the games as big as they are, we may need one of those. But I think our ability to drive in runs and in a number of different ways, and the bottom of our order is pretty flexible in being able to drive in some runs, and then we'll just see how the field's going to play.
Okay, we'll go with Matt here.
You touched on this in Round Rock. How difficult were the conditions?
You know, one of the things I was most proud of my team, it was 30 degrees and they played like it was 75. They didn't complain. There was no excuse making, and I think Arkansas looked like they were playing the game like it was a regular game too. But from the outside, we're watching our team play out there, and it was cool. It was cold, and it was a good, hard-fought game, and it was a really good litmus test for our club where we were at that time, and it probably told us more what we were capable of, because I think, sometimes we struggled to find that same level of play as the season went on, and then got back to it in a different way with a lot more offense, and of course Alex Williams stayed hot the whole year for us, which is big.
Reminder: make sure you give your name and affiliation every time. Jocelyn.
Hi, Jocelyn Stamp from Sports Illustrated Kids. Coach, from the experience you had on the 1987 College World Championship team, what lessons or advice do you give to your players about playing here?
One of the biggest lessons I learned, so we went to the College World Series in 1985, and to this day, I think it's maybe the best team I ever played on, maybe because I was a little younger and I looked up to those guys. And we came in ranked number 1 in the tournament, and we played the 8th ranked team, which was Miami, and they just smoked us. It was 17-3, and Miami ended up winning the tournament, was at the College World Series. And I remember our team a little bit. We thought we were pretty confident, and we felt like if we go to Omaha and we play well, we'll win. Right? We're number 1 ranked. The difference in 1987, we had a bunch of guys that just decided that we didn't care how we played. We just wanted to play each game to win. And early on in the tournament, we didn't play great. We didn't have our best games, but we played well enough to win, and then we played well enough to win the next night. We played well enough to have a miracle grand slam in the bottom of the 10th inning against LSU, and then we started to play well. The last 2 games, we really played good baseball, and you got to kind of stay in the tournament long enough, maybe until you can hit your stride. So I do tell my team, it's not about coming out and hitting the ground running, that you may have to hang around and battle well enough to win the games and then eventually hit your stride by the end. And so I don't look too much about, the quality of our performance. It really is just the competition, and can we find a way to win game 1 and stay in the tournament long enough that hopefully we can play our best baseball by the end.
Okay, let's have a Zoom question here.
Let's go back to Steve with a question. Steve, go ahead.
Yeah, Steve Kroner from the San Francisco Chronicle. Dave, the good and bad of your pitching the past 2 weeks. The good has been how great your bullpen, certainly in the last 2 games. And you talked about how Coach Eager was able to kind of mix and match and get you to victories when you didn't get a whole lot of outs from your starters. Mm-hmm. Considering the struggles that Alex has had the past couple of starts, you have a quicker hook for him on Saturday, or does his equity, so to speak, from his 2 months before that make you not necessarily take him out so early?
Well, that's a good question. So typically in a 3-game series, your Friday starter goes out there and let's say he's not his best. There's a lot of times he's going to throw 100 pitches no matter how many runs he gives up, because you've got to set the table for the next 2 days. I think we're going to watch Alex and see if he looks like he's himself or not. I don't think we can afford in a double elimination tournament to kind of ride someone out just to utilize his pitches. You don't want to get too far down. And obviously, if he looks like himself and looks like he can battle and keep the game close and give our offense a chance to stay in the game and win the game. But I think we'll know early on whether the hitter will tell us whether he's closer to how he was virtually 90% of the season, or is he still struggling with location and command?
Okay, Thomas.
Tom Murphy, Arkansas Democrat Gazette again. Coach, this is Dave Van Horn's 3rd appearance here in the last, I think, 4 College World Series. You scouted him twice this year. Are there any hallmarks of a Dave Van Horn team that maybe stand out to you?
God, they're usually physical on the mound. They got great arm strength typically, and he's willing to play a diverse brand of baseball. Like he'll safety squeeze and suicide squeeze and score some runs. They're usually very athletic, and many years they hit the long ball too. They've got enough power to hit a bunch of home runs, and in the SEC and at Baum Stadium, it's conducive to some power as well. So. I think it's kind of a typical Dave Van Horn team. I know maybe their numbers didn't start off like they would want, just like ours didn't. But I think in the last 6 weeks or so, they played pretty typical Arkansas baseball.
You brought up your blast from the past, 85. You played Arkansas here.
Yep.
Dave was a graduate assistant on that team.
They sent us home that World Series.
What's your just maybe recall of way back then?
I remember the names, right? Norm DeBryan was the head coach. I remember they had a good player named Ellis Roby. I think Jeff King was on that team, right? I mean, they had some players. We played, and then we played Arkansas the next year at Oklahoma State in the regional, and Jeff King was the #1 pick in the draft. So Arkansas has been around for years during my career at Stanford, and a quality team. And, man, Coach Van Horn, with what he's done with that team, has been great. They actually came out and played us when I was with Cal at a tournament out there. And, he's always been just a class individual, and always loved talking baseball with him, and I have the highest respect for him and just the great things he's done at Nebraska and at Arkansas. So it's no surprise to see his team here, regardless with what their regular season or finish may have looked like in the SEC. When it becomes tournament time, his teams have played well and well often.
Okay, Travis.
Travis Brown with the Bryan College Station Eagle. Kind of the same question I pitched those guys about Jacob Palisch. What's the relationship? How have you seen maybe him develop, and how was he in your program? And is it special to get to see him here in Omaha with y'all?
Yeah, he closed out. He sent us to Omaha last year against at Texas. I'm sorry, he sent us to the Super Regionals. He closed out the regional against Irvine, and Jacob and I have always had a great relationship. And He used to stand by me in the dugout, and I kind of counted on him. He would be there on my left. He wasn't afraid to chase foul balls and just kind of sit there and encourage his team. And he pitched great for us. And I texted him, and I've texted him throughout the season, just encouraging him when I see him do something well. And I'm kind of and people know I'm kind of the corny guy that takes a bunch of selfies. And I kind of text him like, I'm hoping to take a selfie in Omaha with you this year, just like we did last year. And he said, looking forward to it. They were in before we were, so I had to do the work to make sure that could happen.
Okay, back here.
Austin Ulmer, MavRadio.fm. The fact that you guys are the only West Coast school here, we got 4 SEC teams, bunch of schools from the South. Does that give you a little more motivation, a little more of a chip on your shoulder coming into the College World Series?
Well, I think we're aware of that, and we know that we're probably trying to uphold the pride of West Coast baseball. We take a lot of pride in that and the brand of baseball that's out west, and we all know that the Power 5 conferences are all capable and good. And I know Oregon State was just a minute away and just an inch away from getting in themselves and lost to a really good Auburn team. So. All year long, I think I had said, it was clear cut that, Tennessee looked like they were the clear cut best team in the country. But I always felt like below them, everyone else had a chance, right? There was no real clear cut 2 or 3, and we're ranked second in the country. But I felt like 2 and 19 were just the same, right? It depends on who's going to play a good weekend of baseball that weekend. The competition I think it's a free-for-all this weekend. I don't think there could be any favorite. I think every team here is capable, as capable as you could have an 8-team field. And so some people say, are you the favorite because you're the highest ranked? I don't think that's the case. I think all 8 teams are looking to play the best brand of baseball and have a good game that day and see who can come out and win.
Okay, time for one more question. We'll go with Thomas here.
This is a kind of a double question. I saw you nodding your head when Alex was talking about Quinn's move to the closer role. How's he embraced that? He said he didn't really like it at the beginning. And then what do you expect from Alex? Well, what's his mix going to be against the Razorbacks?
Well, the most important move we made of the whole season probably was Quinn Matthews going to the bullpen, and to say that we did it right immediately, we didn't. It was a little bit. How do we do it correctly? Do you just give him a 1-run lead in the 9th and let him have that game? When typically the closer, probably gets the most important out in the 7th, and maybe have to run 8th and 9th inning too if you need him. We didn't do that, and we had a weekend. We had 2 weekends that were probably definitive. We got swept at Arizona, in which we had the lead in the 8th inning all 3 games. So we didn't hand the ball off to someone who could finish those games for us. We then went to Washington, and we still were struggling on, do you just give Quinn a 1-run lead in 9th and let him win that game? Well, the biggest at-bat was in the 8th inning. It was a tie game in the 8th. We went with someone else, and they scored and ended up beating us in that game. The next decision we had to make is, well, if Quinn hasn't pitched, do we start him on Sunday, which we'd done? And it became kind of apparent, like, I don't think we can start him because, again, we're not getting stronger as the game goes on. Well, in our infinite wisdom, we start him on Sunday. And great, we had a 7-3 lead going into the 7th inning, and he's done. He's run to his pitch count, and we end up losing the game 10-9, right? So at the end of that weekend, we made the decision he's not going to start. And we're going to use him as we would any closer, which would be from the 7th inning on. He would have the most important outs and then maybe run the last couple innings. And once we made that switch, it stabilized our ability to win games at the end of the game. And so that was probably the most important move we made. He accepted it. He understood early on because it was that kind of hybrid role that maybe we would close them and then still start them. It became kind of confusing to him what we actually were doing. It became right after that weekend we said, this is the definition. We're going to use you to win games. You're going to be our closer because that helps the team the best. And he said, hey, Coach, I get it. It was a little bit confusing early when I would pitch, but now that you defined it for me, if that's what we need, I'm going to do it.
And then on
Alex, again, you're going to know it's going to be his location, his ability to mix pitches. It's going to be whether he can stay one step ahead of the hitter. It's not in your face power stuff. Typically, early in the season, I think you probably was a 93 and maybe touch a 94. In June and July, you're probably not living there. So it's, it's probably going to be 91, 92, and it's going to have to be impeccable command and command of all three pitches. And you're going to know if he can break down the hitter, that'll be the sign he's probably the Alex of old. If they foul off, if he doesn't have a pitch that can get him out and they can foul off 5 or 6 pitches, that makes the day tough.
Okay, Dave. Reminder, Tyler, for any other questions about a request for the Stanford kids, remember that a recording of this press conference will be available at the NCAA Digital Media Hub at www.ncaa.veritone.com. Transcripts are from ASAP, and they'll be posted shortly. Thank you. Good luck.
All right, thank you.